Imagine this. June 6, 1944. The beaches of Normandy, France. Thousands of American soldiers stormed the shore in near total darkness, blind, terrified, and completely unable to see the enemy positions cutting them down from the cliffs above. Now imagine those same soldiers could see perfectly in the dark. Every German machine gun nest, every bunker, every movement on the hillside, visible as clearly as broad daylight. The outcome of that single morning might have been unrecognizable. The history of World War II is filled with battles won and lost in the darkness of night. Battles where the side that could see had an almost supernatural advantage. Modern U.S. forces call it owning the night. In 1944, nobody owned the night. But what if they did? What if the United States Army had modern night vision technology during World War II? This is that story. What night vision actually is. Before we explore alternate history, we need to understand exactly what night vision technology does. Because not all night vision is equal. The primitive infrared devices that existed during World War II were large, heavy, and required massive external light sources to function. The M1 and M3 infrared sniper scopes, developed by the U.S. Army's Signal Corps, were deployed in limited numbers in the Pacific Theater by 1945, but they were cumbersome, short-ranged at only 70 to 100 meters, and completely impractical for large-scale infantry use. What we are imagining in this scenario is modern Generation 3 night vision, compact goggles that amplify ambient starlight and moonlight, require no external illumination, offer clear vision at hundreds of meters, and can be worn hands-free by every single soldier in the field. The difference between what existed and what we are imagining is not incremental. It is generational. It is the difference between a candle and a floodlight. Why darkness mattered in WWII. Throughout World War II, nighttime was the great equalizer, and often the great killer. Historically, armies avoided fighting at night because darkness created confusion, destroyed unit cohesion, severed communication lines, and made friendly fire a constant and deadly threat. Both Allied and Axis commanders understood that darkness was dangerous for everyone equally. But the side that could overcome that disadvantage, that could move, shoot, and communicate in the dark while their enemies stumbled blindly, would hold an almost insurmountable tactical advantage. Germany recognized this early. By 1944, German engineers had developed the FG-1250 Sperber infrared system for Panther tanks, capable of detecting targets at 600 meters in complete darkness. Approximately 50 Panther tanks were equipped with these devices and deployed on both the eastern and western fronts. The concept was proven. The technology existed in primitive form. What it lacked was the scale, the portability, and the range that modern night vision would provide to every American soldier in the field. How night vision changes Normandy. June 6, 1944. Operation Overlord. The largest amphibious invasion in the history of warfare. More than 160,000 Allied troops landed on 5 beaches along a 60-mile stretch of the Normandy coastline. The operation sustained over 10,000 Allied casualties on that single day alone, with more than 4,000 confirmed dead, including 2,500 Americans. The bloodiest beach was Omaha, where American soldiers landed with almost no cover against heavily fortified German positions on the bluffs above. In real history, those German defenders had the enormous advantage of prepared positions, daylight recognition of targets, and complete knowledge of the terrain. Now give every American soldier on that beach a pair of modern night vision goggles. Suddenly the pre-dawn darkness that was supposed to mask the Allied approach becomes an active weapon. American forces can see the German gun positions clearly. They can identify gaps in the defenses. They can coordinate flanking movements that the German defenders, fighting without equivalent technology, cannot track, predict, or counter. Jungle warfare at night. The impact of night vision in the European theater would have been transformative. But in the Pacific, where American forces fought some of the most brutal close-quarters jungle combat in military history, the change would have been even more profound. Island campaigns like Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa were defined by Japanese tactics that specifically exploited darkness. Japanese commanders were masters of the night infiltration attack. Small units moving silently through dense jungle in complete darkness, penetrating American defensive perimeters, creating chaos and panic before melting back into the tree line. These tactics were devastatingly effective against American forces who could not see in the dark. At Okinawa alone, American forces suffered more than 12,000 dead and 36,000 wounded over 82 days of fighting. A significant portion of those casualties came from exactly this kind of night infiltration warfare. Attacks that modern night vision technology would have detected, tracked, and neutralized before they ever reached American lines. Owning the night on the front line. Beyond the large-scale tactical implications, night vision technology would have transformed individual combat at the soldier level in ways that are almost impossible to overstate. The German Wehrmacht was famous for the discipline and quality of its infantry. Soldiers who knew how to use terrain, cover, and darkness to maximum effect. American forces, for all their courage and eventual superiority in equipment and numbers, consistently faced the challenge of German defensive skill in prepared positions. Night vision goggles on every American infantryman would have fundamentally altered that equation. A German soldier in a carefully camouflaged foxhole, invisible to a normal human eye at night, becomes immediately identifiable through a Generation 3 night vision device. American patrols could operate silently and effectively after sunset, gathering intelligence, eliminating sentries, and disrupting supply lines in ways that daylight operations made far too costly. The psychological impact alone, knowing that the enemy could see you in the dark even when you believed yourself invisible, would have been shattering to German defensive morale. The night becomes a highway. One of the most underappreciated aspects of World War II is how critical the destruction of enemy supply lines was to Allied victory. The Allied strategic bombing campaign targeted German factories, rail lines, and fuel depots throughout the war. But these operations were dangerous and costly in aircraft and crew lives. Many supply movements, recognizing the threat from Allied air power during daylight, shifted to night operations specifically to avoid detection and attack. German supply convoys moved in darkness. Ammunition trains ran at night. Reinforcements arrived under the cover of darkness. American forces equipped with night vision technology would have transformed the interdiction of these supply movements from a costly daylight bombing mission into a routine ground operation. Patrols operating at night with full visual capability could have tracked, ambushed, and destroyed German logistics operations with a consistency and effectiveness that no daylight operation could match. The Wehrmacht's ability to sustain its defensive lines across France and Germany would have been compromised in ways that might have shortened the European war by months. December 1944. December 16, 1944. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. Germany launches its last major offensive of the war, Operation Watch on the Rhine, what history would call the Battle of the Bulge. German forces attacked in the pre-dawn darkness and dense fog that grounded Allied air support and masked their movement. More than 80,000 American soldiers became casualties over 6 brutal weeks of winter fighting in conditions that often reduced visibility to near zero. The fog and darkness that made the German surprise offensive possible, the same conditions that paralyzed Allied commanders in the critical first hours, would have been irrelevant to American forces equipped with modern night vision. The German armored columns moving through the Ardennes in darkness would have been visible to American forward observers from hundreds of meters away. The surprise that was the entire foundation of Germany's last desperate gamble would have evaporated before the first shot was fired. The Battle of the Bulge, as history knows it, simply does not happen the same way. How much shorter does the war get? The cumulative effect of night vision technology across every theater of World War II raises a question that military historians find genuinely fascinating. How much does the war shorten? World War II in Europe ended on May 8, 1945. The Pacific War ended on September 2, 1945. Every major campaign, Normandy, the drive across France, the island hopping in the Pacific, the assault on Germany itself, involved battles where American forces faced serious nighttime disadvantages that cost time, lives, and momentum. Conservative military analysis suggests that consistent night vision advantage across American ground forces could have shortened the European war by 6 months to a year. In the Pacific, where Japanese night infiltration tactics were so central to the defensive strategy, the reduction in American casualties and the increased speed of island clearing operations could have been even more dramatic. The human cost of World War II included an estimated 70 to 85 million total deaths. Even a modest reduction in the war's length, measured in months, translates to millions of lives. What this scenario teaches us. The scenario of the United States Army equipped with modern night vision in World War II is not simply an exercise in imagining a faster Allied victory. It is a window into something more fundamental: the relationship between technology and human life on the battlefield. Every generation of soldiers throughout history has fought with the best tools available to them. The men who stormed Omaha Beach on June 6, 1944, were not disadvantaged because of failures of courage, intelligence, or commitment. They were disadvantaged by the simple, brutal fact that the technology required to see in the dark, to neutralize the enemy's prepared positions, and to own the night simply had not been invented yet. The United States military understands this lesson deeply. Modern American forces are trained, equipped, and doctrine built around night vision dominance precisely because of what history taught at such enormous cost. Today's soldiers own the night in ways that the men of 1944 could only have dreamed about. This scenario is a tribute to them, and a reminder of what technology, applied at the right moment, can mean for the people who carry the weight of war. If this video made you think differently about World War II, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more military technology.